I think more and more, and just because there are lots of law professors and they publish a lot of the research that we end up being called upon to do is sort of law-related areas. Everything from economics to psychology to philosophy. Because if you've ever looked at law reviews and law review articles, you know, they often tend to be more academic and theoretical. So it's been a little surprising, I guess, to me in some ways, to the extent to which the research that we're called upon to do isn't really traditional legal research. It's in these, you know, law-related areas, or how those areas come into play with the legal system. So yeah, it's, you know, one of the, I think, interesting aspects of the job. Another thing, and again, this varies from law school to law school, but one of the things that academic law librarians are called upon, you know, perhaps more than other law librarians, is the teaching function, a more formal teaching function. There's been more of a trend toward, and partly this is because librarians have been aggressive about establishing themselves as the experts and the people who can teach legal research to the students, which I think is a really positive thing. So we do a lot of teaching at Maryland. We do teach the Intro to Legal Research class, which is a required 1-credit class that first-year students take. And then we also teach an Advanced Legal Research class, which is also a 1-credit class required that students take in their second, third, or fourth year if they're UMIC students. And you know, this is a very positive thing. I think if you're interested in academic law librarianship, and it's good. I think it's a very positive thing for librarians to develop the teaching skills, and it also is very good, I think, in terms of your job, you know, career path. If you have taught in the formal classroom, grading is not so much fun. And we're always, you know, kind of going back and forth. Well, you know, maybe it would be better if this was pass-fail, you know. But of course, everyone knows that, you know, students will put more effort in if they are getting a grade. So we sort of struggle with that all the time because grading is challenging. It's difficult, and I think we all put a lot of thought and effort into that. Even in law schools where the librarians don't have quite as formal a teaching role, there are many opportunities, you know, to teach. Either go into a class and teach one session on research that's pertinent to the subject matter of that particular class. And I think it's a very positive thing for librarians to be doing that as an outreach sort of a thing. The other aspect, of course, of supporting students, you know, we have a liaison program where every professor and every class is assigned a librarian. And I think that's also becoming pretty common, you know, in law schools. And so we do also sort of have a subject expertise that we try to develop. I mean, it's almost a necessity now, you know, within law, because there are just so many areas, you know, specialized areas that seem to be getting more and more complicated as time goes by. So actually, incidentally, health is my specialty area too. So I didn't know that about you, but that's really about you. So I mean, that is one thing to look for. I think if you were looking for a job as an academic law librarian or are interested in that, to look and see what perhaps specialty or certificate programs a law school might have, you know, and how those might jive with your personal interests, or perhaps, you know, undergraduate major or something like that. Because I think it's something that really enhances, you know, librarian skills and your perception by the students and faculty, as if you have kind of a subject area expertise. And that can be anything, you know, health law, business, economics certainly is a huge area. Foreign and international law is something that I think a lot of law schools, the ones in the DC area, many of them have been on board with that for a long time. But I think it's becoming more, you know, globalization, becoming more common in every law school, that there's more of an emphasis on that. So certainly if you have any foreign language skills, that's fabulous too. I'm going to stop talking because I don't know how long I've been talking. I don't want to talk too long.
It'll come up.
And then, yeah, other questions. So, but, you know, again, just to close, I mean, it is like most librarian jobs. I think, you know, you wear a lot of different hats, and it's really great in that way. Yeah, it's a great career in that way.
And my name is Sarah Whitman, and I work as a research librarian at a law firm in Baltimore. It's Gordon Feinblatt. And I know, exactly. And the main purpose of, I think, a research librarian at a law firm is to support the attorneys in how they need to get their jobs done. So every day I do a whole bunch of different requests with completely different questions. So today, I'll just use today as an example because it's easier than remembering. But today, one of the questions was to write up a memo, just based on whether or not the attorney came down, told me about what the case is, basic. She's a bankruptcy attorney, and said, I need to know whether or not this qualifies as a single asset real estate case. So that's basic case law research. But then someone else came down and said, I've got a brief due, and I need a copy of a page from a particular Webster's dictionary, and I need it to file with this brief. So you feel like, this is ridiculous. Why am I running down like a particular page? Somebody else, his client, said that he wants to open short-term rental properties in a particular section of South Carolina. So what I do is I check to see who owns those properties, because he's eyeing up certain properties. I check to see who owns those properties, whether or not there's current mortgages on those properties, what the zoning laws are there, what the parking restrictions are, and just pull that together. I didn't get this one today, but I often get, we have a judgment against somebody, and we want to know, are we going to be 15th in line because this person has 20 other judgments against them? What kind of assets do they have? Do they own property? And if they own property, how many mortgages are on that property already? Is it close to foreclosure? Has anything gone into foreclosure? Just a whole asset search on this person, judgments and liens too. It just sort of, if they need information, that's what I'm there for. So sometimes I think some of the questions are ridiculous, but that's what you do. It's not just legal research, but I would say legal research is probably about a third of what I do. When I started, I think the assumption was that I wouldn't do mostly legal research. Most of what I would be doing would be the other support research on assets, research on company research, background research on businesses. But as I got to talk to the attorneys, I think they realized, I'm not a complete idiot. And so they started to give me little assignments here and there, and then realized, you could write up a research memo on this, One other thing that I think is unique to law firm librarians is that some attorneys are very, they wait until the very last minute to do things. Now maybe it's because they're juggling a lot of things, but I've gotten calls from court saying, I'm about to go up on a hearing on this, and I need cases that say X. And I think, isn't this sort of the backwards way to do this? Shouldn't we be doing the research and then the statutes with it? But whatever. And so you just, pull together the research and email it to them. So it's sort of very fast-paced in that sense. Everything. The attorneys always need something yesterday. They always ask questions like today, or yesterday, can you quickly find the legislative history of this particular, law? No, I can't quickly do that, although I hope Annette can quickly do it.
We're in context sometimes.
And that's sort of, I wish I could say what a typical day was, but that's sort of the type of days that you get. Just whatever information that they need to be able to get their job done, that's what you do. And it's a great job, though. It's a lot of fun. I'm lucky to work at a firm.
Well, at least one of you got a JD.
That's
He's in it.
Now, I'm curious, how did you all choose to go with law? Was this like conscious your first one or MLS? Did you get your JD first and then decide that you were a librarian? How did you get into this law librarianship specifically?
I'll start.
Down the line.
Well, I always had in my mind that I wanted to work in a special library. That was, but I kind of needed a springboard to do that, so I went to the public library first, because you have to get a little bit of experience in usually before you get a special library job. And I thought, you know, maybe I'll do, I never really had a plan when I was getting my MLS as to what specific focus I was going to do. And I